Today's topic is inverse Laplace transform. The objective of today's session is to find inverse Laplace transform. So we'll start with the equation to find the inverse Laplace transform. Inverse Laplace transform means to get the original signal x of t. That means to get the signal back into the time domain. So we know the identity. You can say x of t is the signal, or you can say the Laplace transform pair. If you take its Laplace transform, this will be xs. Then when xs is given, how to find out xt is nothing but the inverse Laplace transform. There is a direct equation. The equation is like this: x of t, that is equals to original signal, it is 1 divided by 2 pi j. Integration sigma is the real part minus j infinity plus, that means the upper limit sigma plus j infinity, that is integration right from sigma minus j infinity to sigma plus j infinity x of s into e raised to st into d of s. So this is the direct equation to find out x of t, that is original signal. If you see this equation, the equation is very complex, and again it needs the understanding of complex variables. So we can adopt other method to find out the inverse Laplace transform. So using the partial fraction expansion. So x of s, the Laplace transform x of s can be represented as, suppose k is the constant, s minus z1, s minus z2, and so on, s minus zm divided by s minus p1, s minus p2, and so on, s minus pn. So let it be equation number 2, simple equation. So k is the constant and s minus z minus 1, s minus z minus 2. So these are the zeros of the x of s, and s minus p1, s minus p2, these are the poles, or basically s equals to z1, s equals to z2, s equals to zm. They are indicating the zeros of the x of s. That means the roots of numerator are called as zeros, whereas roots of denominator are called as poles. In this case, for example, s is equals to z1, s is equals to z2 up to zm. These are the zeros, whereas s is equals to p1, p2, and so on up to pn. These are the poles. So this is the representation of poles and zeros in the form of transfer function. or excess is represented like this. So in other way, if these poles are distinct, so there are two options again. So the first option, if poles of excess are distinct, if poles of excess are distinct, then how can we represent excess? So the equation number 2 can be represented when the poles are distinct like this. This is equals to A divided by, so first pole is S minus P1, that is the first factor. So S minus P1 plus B divided by S minus P2 and so on, plus and so on, up to, you can say, that means suppose this is A1, we can write this is equals to A2 and so on up to An divided by S minus P of n. Let it be equation number 3. So you can say alpha 1, alpha 2, A1, A2, A3 or A1, B1, C1 like that. Okay. So here A1 divided by S minus P1 plus A2 divided by S minus P2 plus A3 divided by S minus P3 plus and so on An divided by S minus P1 Pn. So that is the representation of X of S. Then how to find out these values? Okay, how to find out the A1, that is the constant, A2 the another constant, and An is another constant. So we can find out, suppose A1, that is to be found out. So A1 is equals to, now the pole related to A1, that is S minus P1. So S minus P1 multiplied by X of S multiplied by X of S. X of is the Laplace transform, or you can say the entire transfer function, that is S is equals to P1. So this is how to find out A1. Then A2, the pole related to A2 is equals to P2. So S minus P2 multiplied by X of S at S is equals to P2 and so on. An is equals to S minus, or in generalized format, Pn multiplied by X of S at S is equals to Pn. So this is the way to find out the values of constant when the poles are distinct. After finding out these values, you take the use the proper identity to find the inverse Laplace transform. So using this basic knowledge, when the poles are distinct, we'll find out inverse Laplace transform of certain examples. So we'll start with the example number 1 and write here, find inverse Laplace transform of excess is equals to S divided by S square plus 5S plus 6. So always important is that you have to specify the kind of sequence or ROC, or you can say this is the right-handed sequence. So ROC is specified, mentioning that it is the right-handed sequence. Okay. So XS. So we'll represent this XS in the form of poles and zeros. So we'll start solving this example. X of S is equals to S divided by. So this is the quadratic equation. This quadratic equation we can factorize this. So directly we can write S plus 2 into S plus 3. So S divided by S plus 2, that means S square plus 5S plus 6. So this is the representation of the quadratic equation. Now the poles are distinct. So we can write the poles of these quadratic equations are located as S is equals to minus 2 and another pole is located at S is equals to minus 3 and 0. So single 0 is there, it is located at origin S is equals to 0. But the procedure deals with the poles. So X of S is going to be represented in the partial fraction format. So let it be A1. You can use A, B, C or A1, A2, A3. So A1 divided by S plus 2 plus A2 divided by S plus 3. Right? So we can find out A1 first. That is the first coefficient or constant. So how can we find out A1? So use the formula S plus 2. That is the poles associated with this multiplied by X of S at S is equals to minus 2. So that is equals to S plus 2 into X of S. Let it be equation number 1. Put the value of X of S. So S divided by S plus 2 into S plus 3 at S is equals to minus 2. So this S plus 2 is going to be cancelled. Put the value of S is equals to minus 2. So that is equals to minus 2 divided by minus 2 plus 3. So here 1 and in the numerator that is equals to minus 2. So A1 is equals to minus 2. So that is the first constant we have got. And second constant A2 is equals to S plus 3 into another bracket multiplied by X of S at S is equals to minus 3. Put the values S plus 3 multiplied by XS. So put from equation number 1 S divided by S plus 2 S plus 3 at S is equals to minus 3. So S plus 3 is going to be cancelled. Put the value of S is equals to minus 3 here. So minus 3 in the numerator, then minus 3 plus 2. So this is minus 3 as it is. Here minus 1. So its value is equals to 3. So A1 is equals to minus 2 and A2 is equals to 3. So X of S, this is the equation number 2. So the first equation can be represented as equation number 2 and we can put the value of A1 and A2 in equation number 2. So A1 is equals to minus 2 divided by S plus 2. A2 is equals to 3 plus 3 divided by S plus 3. So this is the equation of XS. Now we'll use the standard identity to find the inverse Laplace transform. Just check. X of s, once again I am writing, that is equals to minus 2, rewriting x of s, plus 2 plus 3 divided by s plus 3. Then we are going to use the standard identity that we know that since e raised to minus at as the equation specifies, that is the right-handed sequence in the example itself, this is equals to 1 divided by s plus a. So 1 divided by s plus a is specified. So a in the first part, that is equals to 2, and in the second part a is equals to 3. So applying above identity and finding out inverse Laplace transform, applying, you can say, ILT using above identity. Okay, so this identity that we are going to use. So x of t directly we can use. So minus 2 multiplied by 1 upon s plus 2, that is equals to e raised to minus 2t into u of t plus 3 into 1 divided by s plus 3. Okay, so this is equals to e raised to minus 3t, 3 is there, into u of t, 3 into e raised to minus 3t into u of t, and minus 2 into e raised to minus 2t u of t. So further you can write xt as we are multiplying with u of t because this is the right-handed sequence. So we can further write like this: 3 into e raised to minus 3t minus 2 into e raised to minus 2t, can put it into the bracket, into u of t. So this is the inverse Laplace transform of given x of s.